So guys, I'm a big fan of the found footage genre, and I started thinking about 2025 on this channel. You know, I love doing collection videos and showing you guys a number of titles at a time to either check out the movies or to add things to your collection. But this year, I really want to try to showcase some movies that I truly think are underrated. Now, if you've been a fan of this channel for some time, you know that I really don't like that word because I feel like it's been used for every movie out there. People can say Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 is underrated, or maybe Halloween 4 is underrated, and in my opinion, they're not. Everybody at least knows about those movies and has an opinion on them. I think sometimes the word gets conflated with, I like this movie more than a lot of people do, therefore it's underrated, when I think that's some misuse of the definition. So for me, the word underrated is something that should have a lot more eyeballs on it, or should be talked about in one sense or the other. Whether it's good or bad, it should be talked about more. So there's a movie I definitely want to talk to you guys today about, and of course I have it on Blu-ray. But let's talk for a second about a movie that this is similar to. You know, M. Night Shyamalan definitely came out of his career in the beginning with full force. Movies like Signs and The Sixth Sense are movies that are considered staples today. In the mid-2000s, he did a movie called The Visit. So this would be a creepy found footage movie about this old woman who at nighttime just does disturbing things. Now, I'm not saying M. Night ripped this movie off at all, but this movie definitely has some similar vibes to it, and in my opinion, is devilishly creepy. Way creepier than The Visit. It's a found footage movie about a creepy old woman. I'm talking about The Taking of Deborah Logan. Now, odds are you probably were rolling through Netflix one night and saw this image that was popping up on recommended back around 2015. It would be this red poster with this creepy old woman on the front. So I remember I saw this one time and couldn't help myself. I decided to hit play on this, not knowing anything about it. Now, come to find out, this was a found footage movie. Now, if you know me, you know that's where I shine. I love found footage. The thing about the genre of found footage is, when it's bad, it's really bad. But when it's good, to me, there's nothing as effective as a great found footage movie. If you can get lost in what's supposed to be found footage, talk about an experience. The Taking of Deborah Logan, to me, when you talk about found footage, I find this to be quite possibly the most underrated found footage horror movie in the last 20 years. What is The Taking of Deborah Logan? Well, it's all about this woman who has this case of Alzheimer's that's really starting to get bad. Now, naturally, that's something that a lot of people are afraid of. I even remember John Carpenter on one occasion stating that his biggest fear is losing his own sense of self. Something that unfortunately happens as we get to an older age. We start to lose our memory, we start to lose our senses, and I can imagine that's terrifying. So in The Taking of Deborah Logan, this psych major student shows up to this woman's house with a small skeleton crew she has, where she's going to be documenting this woman who is suffering from severe Alzheimer's. But when they meet the daughter of Deborah at the house, well, she kind of leads on that things can get a little weirder than anticipated. Now, the actress in this who plays Deborah Logan, I saw was a longtime soap opera actor, and this woman can act. Let me tell you. The Taking of Deborah Logan has some of the creepiest moments I think I've ever seen in found footage. You know, when you're documenting somebody that's going to be losing their minds, now they should have some pretty creepy facial expressions. Now this movie has those moments in it and then some. There's a moment in The Taking of Deborah Logan that sends a shiver up my spine. Now as these people set foot in this house, they're going to start filming everything that this woman does, especially at night. There's a moment in The Taking of Deborah Logan where a cameraman just kind of breezes up to the bedroom where Deborah Logan is in. Now we see her looking at herself in a mirror against the wall while she's just caressing her hair, and all of a sudden she notices the camera through the reflection of the mirror. The look this woman gives made my blood run cold. It was the most creepiest thing I've ever seen. I have a sweatshirt on right now, but when I tell you I had goosebumps, I had freaking goosebumps. Now, this is one of those movies that definitely reaches a fever pitch, where the longer you go into it, the crazier things start to happen. In terms of the performances of this movie, this is one of those found footage movies where everybody is a good actor. The thing about found footage is it's usually a guerrilla filmmaking style. Sometimes it's done very cheaply, and every now and again, there's a decent budget where they get good actors involved with this with a really good premise. This is one of those examples of a found footage movie where there's good acting in this. Nobody in this movie is remotely bad in my opinion, which makes this already a cut above the rest. The only thing I will give criticism about with this movie is they take some routes towards the end that I understand they needed to have a foil for what was going on with this woman that was a little bit more than, I guess, just Alzheimer's, but it went a little too far for my tastes, where they didn't necessarily need to do this, or they could have left it a little more ambiguous. The Taking of Deborah Logan is like going on a haunted roller coaster that will just have moments of leaving you breathless. I can't recommend this movie enough. I didn't know that this movie had a Blu-ray release until I decided to look this up a while ago, so what do you say we take a look at this Blu-ray? So we'll see that this movie stars Jill Larson, Anne Ramsey, and Michelle Ang. And on the back, we'll notice that this was put out by MVD. So that's really cool. Now, this Blu-ray looks like it came out back around 2020. In terms of bonus material, we do have a making of featurette with English and Spanish subtitles. So it's not the most luxurious Blu-ray release, I guess, but that's all right. I mean, the thing about this is I want people to see this movie, but also own it, because this is one of those movies that even after a repeat viewing, you'll still be creeped out. Now, I mentioned The Visit earlier. Well, this movie obviously predated The Visit in terms of release date. They're not the same thing because they had different mental illnesses in the movies, but if you watch The Taking of Deborah Logan after seeing The Visit or vice versa, you'll definitely see that there's a similar motif at play here. But don't let that bother you. Honestly, that's neither here or there. I don't think M. Night really copied this movie at all. But in terms of comparing them, forget about it. The Taking of Deborah Logan to me is 10 times as scary as The Visit. The found footage genre is ripe with ups and downs. There's movies that have a great premise, but when you watch them, just don't really live up to the hype. Movies like Amber Alert. I'd heard about Amber Alert for a long time. Well, I finally was able to stream it when it showed up on a site, and I was kind of more than let down by that one. And every so often, these movies can just creep out, and you'll start to see them on streaming sites and kind of just give them a go, and you'll be pretty damn impressed by them. So when it comes to the found footage genre, it's always a genre I want people to give a stab to. I know that there can be some really bad ones out there, but man, when they work, there's nothing like them in my opinion. So guys, own The Taking of Deborah Logan on Blu-ray and experience this movie for yourself at home. Huge giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind the scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.